Welcome to Dead Man Talking. Tonight's story is a fantastic account and quite an interesting insight possibly to the lives and the coexistence of Dogman and Coyotes. Particularly in this story, it highlights the fact that the possibility of a coyote following orders directly from the Dogman, as if to do its bidding for him, or her, or it. I hope you guys enjoy this story. Please, as ever, do like and share. Without further ado, let's get into tonight's story, entitled, I Saw Something in the Ravine. Let's get straight into that. Before I tell you exactly what I witnessed, I want to make a few things clear. I live in an urban centre with fairly high population, with a network of ravines throughout. There are all kinds of animals: skunks, raccoons, moles, squirrels and even coyotes. These animals are more easy to see if you spend a little time in the ravine, but nothing compares to what I've seen. It started with the missing posters. Whenever I took my dog for a walk, I would see missing cat posters, and I would see more each time I went out. Every day I'd see the faces of lost cats plastered on every telephone pole I walked past. It was strange how many there were. Every day a few more cats would go missing, and you'd have more crying kids, more worry in the community, and of course, more missing posters. At the point that my neighbour's cat went missing, it was such a problem it became a local news story. Among the distraught former cat owners they were interviewed, there was my neighbour. She and I both had houses that backed onto the ravine. You could walk directly into the ravine from my backyard. One night, around 10 PM, my neighbour let her cat out of the house to do her business. Only after a minute of her cat walking around the backyard, a low growl and a sound the cat in distress was heard into the pitch black yard. She grabbed a flashlight and of course ran out, only to discover blood drying in the dirt, leading into the ravine accompanied by tracks. Everyone figured it was coyotes. Unfortunately, everyone's assumption was confirmed when the lady went downstairs in the middle of the night to grab some food. She looked through her glass back door to see 4 yellow eyes staring back at her. 2 coyotes. The volume at which cats were disappearing was surprisingly growing every night. Most people kept a strict eye on their pets around that time, like they should. One night, I sat in a chair on my back porch late at night, letting my dog out. There's a chain link fence separating my backyard from the ravine, with a gate. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up all of a sudden, and even though I hadn't seen or heard anything yet, I felt something. I sensed that something was there. I saw 2 yellow eyes, like the one the lady saw behind the fence. They were staring directly at me. 2 more emerged from the ravine, finding their place next to the first pair. I heard a low growl, loud enough to be heard from my place on the porch. And that's when I saw the 3rd set of eyes. Their colour deviated from the yellowish colouring of the other animals, and I saw that they possessed a more orange colour. This thing was impossibly tall. It must have stood at 9 feet, towering over the fence. My dog barked and whimpered, running to the back door, pawing and scratching at it. I ran back inside with my dog, and I barely got any sleep that night. What the hell was that thing? Then a bloodhound went like the rest of the cats. This was, of course, surprising to most, and I figured there must have been multiple coyotes hunting their prey at once. A bloodhound, though, could probably put up a good fight. This brings me to what I experienced. My encounter happened in broad daylight. I was walking my Australian Shepherd, and it started like any other walk. We went walking into the ravine, entering right from my backyard. My dog walked at a moderate pace, sniffing everything in his path, and perking up when he saw a squirrel. He required pretty long and frequent walks, so I knew the ravine well enough. I wasn't too concerned about the whole coyote problem, and I knew a coyote wouldn't attack my dog when I'm with him. I've heard coyotes are skittish. At some point on our walk, maybe a mile or two, he stopped. He completely froze, and he stopped sniffing around as well. Then, for a full minute, he just stood completely still, and then he sat. I didn't tell him to sit or anything. He just sat on his own. I tugged at his lead, but that received no response. I heard a stick crack somewhere nearby ahead of us, and he started whimpering. Whatever he was afraid of was literally just up ahead and around the corner. I was kind of curious of what it was, so I tried going forward. I finally pulled on the leash hard enough for him to follow me, and off we went around the corner. I walked slowly and carefully, making sure I didn't make too much noise. My dog walked right behind me, hiding behind my legs as we walked. As my hiking boots became caked with mud as I walked by the stream, I noticed the smell. The further I got around the turn, the more putrid the stench was. It was like rotten meat mixed with wet dog, with a slight metallic ring to it. And as I got halfway around the turn, I saw the cat. It lay in the mud, causing its white fur to become a dirty brown. And it was clearly dead, probably for several days, and there were chunks of flesh ripped from its side and stomach, and its neck had been torn open. Flies buzzed around the carcass, causing the whole experience of finding this dead pet to be increasingly dreadful. Then I heard a growl nearby, and the sound of ripping and tearing, with a bit of crunching adding to the disgusting sound. I finished the turn, and I finally got a good look at the source of the noise, and the reason for the dead cat. It led to a more open space with trees alongside of it, and a large tree in the centre. I saw a coyote near the middle tree, eating something laying on the ground. The fur on its face was matted with blood, and each time it raised its head, blood dripped from its maw. There was a second coyote pacing around in the open space, holding a dead, mangled cat in its mouth. From the branches of the middle tree, dead cats hung from ropes. Their collar tags glinted in the sunlight, and their limbs dangled weakly from their deteriorating bodies. There was this creature, unlike any I have ever seen before, standing at the side of the area. It had black fur with grey spots on its chin, and it stood at what I can only assume to be at least 9 feet tall, and this absolutely terrified me the most. It had shortish legs compared to the rest of its body. Its arms were very long, and it had hands. Well, they looked similar to claws, but they obviously possessed the capabilities of human hands. It stood upright, just like a human, and its ears looked like those of a German shepherd. Its snout was long, and its mouth stretched into an almost mocking sneer. The thing grunted and stomped its foot into the ground, and the second coyote stopped pacing. It walked over to the thing and sat right in front of it, staring intently up at the creature. The tall dog-like creature bent down, picking up a long stick. The coyote continued staring, not breaking its focus one bit. Then the creature snapped the stick in two and made a quick growling sound. The coyote immediately dropped the cat it had in its mouth and trotted off into the distance. The thing had just told the coyote to do something. It was like it had it trained. My dog was whimpering softly, and after I saw this, my mouth was hung open, and I was disturbed. I snapped out my trance, and my dog and I ran off into the direction of my house as fast as we possibly could. This freakishly tall dog-like thing had coyotes doing its goddamn bidding. It had trained them to do commands, and that scares me. I don't know what the hell it is, or why it's doing this, but there's a thing in the ravine, and I don't know what I will do next. Wow. Wow, wow. I hope you guys enjoyed that story. Of course, please do let me know down below in the comments, and please do like and share as ever, guys. Remember, be safe, not sorry.